And we are live. What's good, y'all? Your man DL saying, welcome. I really want to know podcast, man. How y'all feeling out there? How y'all feeling? So today, guys, and moving forward, you guys gonna notice some changes. We're gonna really focus the content. Um, like I said before, like we're really making a push this year to take this platform to the next level. We're gonna do whatever it takes to get us there. Like we're already in that top 2-3% of content creators out there because we're monetized. Y'all realize that only this is like 2, maybe 3% of all YouTubers ever get monetized. And the fact that we're monetized is like huge. So shout out to that. That's a Don DeMarco, if I ever heard of Don DeMarco. So what we're gonna do now, man, we're just gonna focus the content. So from now on, we're gonna be talking about relationship content, and some like red pill stuff, some blue pill stuff, but relationships. And we're gonna be talking about crime and punishment. You guys are gonna notice a difference in what we're bringing and how we're bringing it, which is I think is kind of cool. What else? Oh, so all the other stuff I talk about, finance, politics, air traffic control, comedy, all the other stuff that we talk about, I'm not going to be talking about it on the main channel, right? Because we need to focus the algorithm. So I'm not going to be talking about it on the main channel. I will be talking about it in our members only section. Yeah, we got to do it. So you guys know I was looking at some different platforms, Patreon, locals, but just kind of doing the work, doing the research. We just got to start with YouTube. We're here on YouTube. Let's start on YouTube. So I'm doing some research and I'm just kind of setting things up according to the way it's supposed to be done. We'll make changes as we move along, but in the members only section, like we'll have members only videos where I'll talk about everything behind the scenes footage. Like for instance, I'll take you guys with me when I'm going out to do comedy, from me jumping in the car to me showing up at the venue, to me hanging out with the comics, and then actually getting on stage, doing my set and then coming off the stage. I'll have my camera on pretty much the whole time. And you guys will be able to check that out. So that's what we're doing. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, man, give everybody a heads up. But let's get into the show for today, man. We're talking true crime. It's Crime and Punishment Tuesday. So dig it, man. Imagine you're charged with the crime you didn't commit. And the prosecutor says, plead guilty today and you'll serve 2 years. Or take this to trial, lose, and you can spend 20 years in prison. What do you do? That's a plea bargain. Let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed. I'm just checking out my setup, guys. Y'all know how I get down. Making sure the broadcast is out there is going pretty good. I can see it. Looks like the live feed is good. So yeah. How do you handle that? What do you do? Have you ever thought about that? Most people haven't. Why? Because most people don't tend to get in trouble. But today is so easy to get in trouble, man. It's so easy to get picked up. It's so easy with all the cameras and everything. Like you just don't know what's being seen. There's stories of people being arrested, and processed and everything based on video footage or based on photos. And it turns out that they're not even a person that was in the pictures, right? And this is what we're going to talk about today, man. This is what we're going to talk about. But what would you do? You're sitting there, you're talking to the prosecutor, right? You have your public defender next to you because you didn't have $3,000. I keep telling you, don't mess with public defenders. Or you sitting there with a lawyer that you pay for. You got a good lawyer, and you're sitting there and the prosecutor says, hey, man, plead guilty today, man, serve 2 years. 2 years. You're going to get 20%, maybe 25% of that knocked off the top. So you're not even going to do the full 24 months, right? You're going to do less than 2 years. Plead guilty now. Or have your day in court. But if you lose, We seeking the max, 20 years. 20 years. What do you do, man? Most people immediately say, I never, ever, ever plead guilty, especially to a crime I didn't commit. I ain't doing it. But when your freedom, your family, your job, and your future is on the line, that decision becomes much, much harder. So that's how plea bargains really work, guys. That's it in a nutshell. That's the plea. You hear people taking pleas, that's the plea bargain. You know, some other stuff thrown in there, they're going to want you really to tell on somebody, or um, if they think you know something, like if you're involved with some organization, they're going to want to do that, or they might ask you to, you know, like you see in the movies, wear a wire. Although I've never met anyone who's actually worn a wire, you know, like a recording device and going to talk to people. They're just going to have you go in, look at photos and say, that's the person who was, you know, involved. That's the person who was doing this. Sometimes they come in with statements already written out, and he just wants you to sign it, sign the statement. You read the statement, it's like, that didn't happen. Yo, you want this plea deal, don't you? Want to go home? Don't you sign that? So it gets dirty, guys. It gets dirty. And that decision becomes much, much harder when you're thinking about your family, your job, your well-being, and all that kind of stuff. And there's one reason why almost every criminal case in America ends without a jury ever hearing the evidence, right? So today we're going to separate the Hollywood from reality. We're going to really dive into this. We're going to talk about how pleas work. You guys know, if you've been following me, I got myself into a little trouble. You know, I'm diagnosed with PTSD. I'm a former soldier, veteran of a foreign war, lost control. And I wound up sitting down, as we say in the streets. And I wound up actually having to go through the criminal justice system just a little bit. You know, I did 65 days of a 90-day sentence. So I did in fact take a plea. I took a plea. I took an offer from the judge. I asked the offer to make me a plea today, you know, because I didn't like what the prosecution was talking about. I didn't like what the state was talking about. You know, and then as far as my defense goes, I really didn't have competent defense at first. That's what got me in trouble, deeper trouble. And the counsel that I did wind up with, although he was pretty decent, like he was good, he's going to have a good kid. He's going to have a real good future ahead of him. I had to take the situation into my own hands. I had to weigh it out and had to do what made sense to me. And that's where the plea came in. Instead of making a plea with the prosecution, AKA the state, I asked the judge to make me an offer, and the judge came up with an offer, and I took it. So let's get into it. What is a plea bargain? A plea bargain is simply a negotiated agreement between the prosecution and the defense. Like I said, in my case, the judge made me an offer, and I took that. I kind of circumvented the prosecution. The prosecution wanted to go to trial. The prosecution wanted me to take it to trial. It was so backwards, man. The whole ordeal was just wild. But instead of taking the case to trial, the defendant agrees to plead guilty, or you can plead no contest, right? You could plead, you know, guilty, not guilty, no contest. I took no contest. In return, the prosecutor is offering something of value. That could be reduced charges, fewer charges, lower sentencing recommendations, right? Probation, dropping mandatory minimum penalties, agreeing not to prosecute family members or friends or associates, cooperation agreements. Think of it as settling a lawsuit. And that's what it is. It costs so much money to go to trial anyway. You know, like the system is just set up this way. Both sides avoid the uncertainty of a trial and the cost of a trial and having to defend yourself and all that stuff, man. So, I mean, you know, a plea, in most cases, a plea kind of works out for everyone concerned, although sometimes there's some really bad plea deals that people take, and there's some really, really lenient plea deals that some people take, right? And what do you think separates the really, really lenient plea deals from the really bad plea deals? You guessed it, money. Money. You got the bread, man. You could probably negotiate yourself a better situation, whereas someone who doesn't have that money, don't have that resource, man, they got to kind of take whatever's being offered, or roll the dice on the trial. So why do prosecutors love deals? I already said it, and here it is right here. Trials cost money, man, lots of it. Every trial requires a jury, a judge, bailiffs, prosecutors, defense attorneys, detectives, crime lab experts, witnesses, court reporters, right? It's like a whole slew of people. It's just a lot of resources. A lot of people are involved. I mean, you can go to trial and just not have a jury and have a judge. I mean, that happens sometimes in some certain cases, but you're gonna want your jury. You're gonna want that jury. Um, One homicide trial can cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just one. Just one. Imagine how much was spent on that OJ trial. Right? That was insane. That was probably in the millions out there in California way back when. If every defendant demanded a jury trial, the justice system would literally collapse, grind to a halt. They wouldn't be able to keep up. They wouldn't be able to get people their day in court and, uphold the Constitution at the same time and be within the letter of the law. Plea bargains keep courts functioning. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I saw so many pleas being offered and taken. So, but that's all it was. It was just one negotiation after the next, one negotiation after the next. And when you're dealing with a public defender, it's not like you're in a room somewhere talking to your public defender lawyer. Nah, they walk over to you while you're in shackles sitting there, at least down here in Florida. Okay, this is what I offer. This is what they are. This is what they counter with. You want to do this? Or, I mean, that's all you see. So, and then you gotta, kind of play the game. You gotta play the game. Why do defendants accept plea deals? Why do they do it? Why not just have your day in court? You're an American. As part of the Constitution, is how our system works. Why not get your day in court? Get your witnesses. Look at, have your accuser sitting there right there pointing the finger at you like, that's the guy right there in the red and white shirt. That's who did it. You know what I mean? Like, get your own witnesses to come out and, tell them like, I wasn't even in the country on that day that happened. Whatever the case is. Why not have your day in court? Well, sometimes because they're guilty. They know they did it, right? Or they can't prove they didn't do it. Because remember, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove in today's court. So it's like, man, this ain't looking good for me. Let me go ahead and take this deal. I can do that. I can do 5 years. I can do 2 years, whatever the case may be. But that's just one reason. Other reasons include can't afford to lose. And I ain't trying to do 25 years to life. Like, I ain't got that. I can do 5, I can do 10, 12 maybe, but I can't do 25. Right. My lawyer says it's in my best interest to deal. This is a good deal. Like, you're gonna, you just take the advice of your lawyer. That's another reason why a lot of defendants will take a deal. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to do 20 years. I don't want to do 25 years. I want to see my kids again. I want to see them while they're still kids. I don't want to go do this time, come back, and then they're grown. I've already spent 18 months in jail waiting for trial, right? That's similar to what I was doing. I'd already been in for over 30 days waiting to get before this judge. And I'm like, dude, what I did was a misdemeanor. Like, I already knew. I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. They really should let me go now, but they didn't. I wound up doing, a little more time, another 33 days. But I mean, that's why I took it. I'm like, I'm already here. I'm pretty sure I'm halfway done with any sentence they want to hand down. So let's just make it official. Right. So that was it. I'm already here. I've already done the time. Sometimes people plead guilty simply because certainty feels safer than hope. They're like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't do it, but I'm giving this sentence. I'm certain this is how much time I'm going to do versus hoping that I go to trial and win. Some people do win. Some people don't. Right. And lawyers call this the trial penalty. Right. It's going to be a tax. It's like in the streets around here, they call it a tax. The judge going to put that tax on you, man. You take it all the way to trial and you lose, the judge is going to hit you with the max. They're going to put that tax on there. Right. In most cases, that's what happens. So you're going to make us drag us out. We're going to spend all this money. We got to do all this stuff. And you lost. Yeah. Whatever the max is, you getting that. You getting that. And man, if it's multiple counts, you got multiple counts. You're facing multiple charges. You better hope that they let you do it all at the same time. You hope you get your counts, concurrent instead of consecutive. You know what I mean? So they give you 5 years to run concurrent. You got like 3 counts or whatever, 3 different laws that you broke that you found guilty on all 3. You're just doing the 5 years, but they want to do that, consecutively. That means you got to do the first one, do the first 5, get out, whatever, on your little bond or whatever. And then you got to do the next 5. So that 5 years turns into 15. They can stretch you out if they want to. Right? They can stretch you out. And yeah, you won't do the whole 15, but you're going to do at least half of that, maybe 75% of that time. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. So people are like, nah, I don't want to worry about that, man. Just go ahead, give me this. You know what I mean? I'm looking at 5 years, and you gonna let me just do 2 right now? I'm gonna do the 2. I'm gonna do the 2. That happens, right? I mean, that's how it is. So be up on this, guys. I mean, you just never know what might happen tomorrow. You might be out doing something, something goes wrong, and you get caught up in the middle of a thing. You need to understand what's going on. You need to understand what you're facing. That's why we put this content out here. So, a real example of a very, very lenient plea deal. Very lenient. One of the most controversial plea bargains in American history involved Jeffrey Epstein. And I know you guys are probably thinking like, oh, he's going to talk about Epstein. You bet I am. Right? He got this deal down here in Florida, down in Palm Beach County, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Given the deal by the person who will go on to be the top prosecutor in the country, running the Justice Department. Anyway, back in 2007, federal prosecutors had evidence involving numerous underage victims. We all know the story. Instead of facing, federal sex trafficking charges that could have carried decades in prison, Epstein entered a state plea agreement. A state. Remember, he was facing Fed time, a Fed case, but he worked out a deal with the state to kind of circumvent the feds because the feds weren't his people at the time. His people were at the state level, right? What was the result? Pleaded guilty to 2 state prostitution-related offenses, right? Served about 13 months in Palm Beach County Jail, was allowed extensive work release, leaving jail for many hours a day, 6 days a week, right? Received a controversial non-prosecution agreement that protected him from federal prosecution at the time and granted immunity to certain potential co-conspirators. This is why everybody wants the files now, right? To find out who these conspirators are. The plea deal was widely criticized by victims, legal scholars, and later by the Department of Justice itself. It became a national example of how wealth, influence, and prosecutorial discretion can shape outcomes. Right? He had the bread, he had the connections, he was able to circumvent the feds because the feds were going to stretch him out. We're talking about crimes against kids, the most vulnerable among us, young girls. Bro, he pled out. He pled guilty to some charges, and they buried a bunch of other charges in there. So the most serious stuff got wrapped up in here, and they gave him that sweetheart deal to where the feds can't come back and charge you for this later. What you get with us is what you getting. Keep your nose clean. And while he was locked up doing his time, he pretty much can leave, come and go as he pleased. Was going out there with stories of stuff that he was going out there still hurting young girls while he was on a little work release program. Crazy work, but that was a plea deal, right? That was a plea deal. So let's look at the other side of the coin, right? Another real example. This is a very bad plea deal, right? Y'all guys remember Brian Banks, high school football phenom, right? Accused of rape in California in 2002, Banks maintained his innocence, but prosecutors offered a plea, accept the deal or risk decades in prison if convicted at trial. Facing that possibility, he pleaded no contest to the rape. Something he didn't do. Something he did not do. He pleaded no contest because the alternative was, man, take this thing to trial, lose, and I'm never coming out. I'm never coming out, right? He served years in prison and on parole, right? Years later, the accuser admitted she had fabricated the allegation. She made the whole thing up. Banks was exonerated, but his football career and years of his life were gone. Never got that back. Never got that back. Can you imagine? But he took the plea, and he had to plead no contest. It was basically like, yeah, I did it, but there was circumstances around it, or we need a real legal scholar because I'm not a real legal scholar or practicing lawyer. The no contest is kind of like, I did it, but you have such compelling evidence, like I didn't do it, but you have such compelling evidence that it's going to be hard for me to prove my innocence. So I'm just going to say no contest. I think that's what it is. If you're a lawyer or if you're in the world, the lawyering world, right? You in that world, correct me if I'm wrong. in the chat, or if you're watching this on Team Replay, in the comments below. But yeah, he pled no contest to the SA, did time in jail, got out, had a lot of probation, and then finally the lady said, came forward and said, I made it all up. He lost millions of dollars. And that time he spent in prison, God knows what he went through. He's never getting that time back. And he's certainly not going to be able to just deprogram those memories, wipe them from his memory. Whatever happened to him in there happened to him. What he saw, what he heard, like being locked up, man, it's mentally, it is a challenge. We got Brother Mandrell in the building. What's happening, fam? Good to see you, brother. So his case illustrates why some innocent defendants choose to plead rather than gamble on a trial, right? And think about that. How many dudes have taken plea deals? How many women have taken plea deals for crimes that they did not commit? Right? It's just, we know, looking at this like, yeah, bro, we know there's people in jail right now. There's people sitting down right now doing time, real time in the pen, in the penitentiary, man, doing fair time for crimes they did not commit. They were just in a position where it's like, man, I can't risk it. I'm not trying to go to trial, man, and wind up with, 8 years, 12 years, 15 years. Man, they're offering me 4 years. They're offering me 3 years. Man, I got to take that. Just like the Chud the Builder case in Tennessee. Right? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of my videos. Chud the Builder. Right? That guy. I'm telling you now. I didn't realize this, but they're trying to stretch him out for real. They're trying to get 60 years for attempted deletion for what he did. And trust me, he was wrong what he did. Dumb as dumb gets. That dude was stupid. 60 years. Trust and believe. If the prosecution is offering a plea, man, he's taking it. They might be offering him 15 years. They might be offering him 12 years. He'll be a fool not to take it. You're looking at 60 years. That's a life sentence. And he dead wrong. They got video and all that. They got him talking about he wanted to hurt people and this and that. And he's basically doing what he said he's been trying to do. And he's like, well, I didn't really provoke this. Like, you did provoke it. Well, it was self-defense. Nah, that's not how we see it. Chud the Builder is going to take a plea deal. I promise you. And if he doesn't, you ain't never going to see him on the outside again. That guy's going to be in prison forever. Right? Are plea bargains fair? Supporters say they save taxpayers millions, and that's you and me. They say these plea deals, they save millions and millions of dollars to the taxpayer because they don't have to put these trials on. Victims avoid reliving trauma during the trial, which has to be if you went through something, someone did something horrific to you or someone in your family, and they're sitting there, you in the courtroom looking at them, they're right over there looking at you, right? Or you on the stand, they sitting there looking at you. That's traumatic. It saves you from that. Dangerous offenders are convicted quickly. You can get these people off the street, get them doing their time right away. Of course, don't become overwhelmed, right? So that's what the supporters say. But what are the critics saying about this? Right? Innocent people sometimes plead guilty. Not sometimes, probably most of the time. Innocent people plead guilty. Wealthy defendants often negotiate better outcomes. Hell yeah, they do, because they got their bread. We talked about what happened with Epstein. Prosecutors can pressure defendants with severe sentencing threats. Now, you sitting there thinking like, man, I'm gonna go ahead and take my time, take my chances. I think I got a pretty strong case. And the prosecution is like, look, I know the judge and your lawyer is gonna be sitting there like co-signing. Like, yeah, if you lose this, then you get in the max. And the max is 35 years. 20 years, like 18 or 20 year minimum. What? Like, yeah, man, we're willing to offer you 12 right now. What? I mean, you gambling your life. It's the ultimate Vegas gambling gaming table. You feel me? Justice can become a negotiation instead of a search for truth. Right? The truth. What is that anymore? Do anyone even care about the truth? Do they even want to really know what happened? Or are they just trying to check the boxes, just keep the conveyor belt moving? Let's get you in there. Right? I mean, the plea bargain thing, bro, it's crazy work for people who are innocent. And they just can't afford to mount a competent defense because they don't have the money. They don't have the resources. They don't have the connections. Right on the other side of that, if you do have the money, the resources, and connections, you're gonna walk. There was a guy who committed a vicious essay. He raped some girl behind a trash dumpster. And this kid was like at an Ivy League school. I want to believe this was in Northern California. I forget what year it was. Clean cut, white guy, family had mad money and resources. Like it was horrific the way he treated this young woman, what he did. And goes through the whole process, man, takes it to trial, and the jury found him guilty. The jury was like guilty, recommending the max. This dude is a monster. Get him out of here. And the judge set the verdict aside. The judge is like, nah, we ain't gonna lock him up. You going home. We ain't gonna waste your future because he made a mistake. I think that's how the judge placed it. Oh, he made a silly mistake. We're not gonna ruin his life over such a trivial thing or something like that. The judge did it. And I believe the judge, either was removed from his bench or it got voted out. The judge knew what he was doing. Probably had ties to the guy's family. That's the plea deal. That's the system. That's the system. This is a guy who absolutely did it, had his day in court, right? Was tried by a jury of his peers and was found guilty based on the evidence, and they were supposed to send him away. So it's a long time. He's going to do like at least a quarter, probably 25 years or more. And the judge set it aside. Remember I was saying judges got a lot of power? Judges have an extreme amount of power, man. They can do a lot. And that's what happened, bro. That's what money gets you, bro. That's what money gets you. So, just think about that, man. Going back to that question. You sitting there in the prosecution is like, hey, man, we give you 2 years, man. 24 months on this thing. We got you dead to rights. He's like, I didn't do it. Prosecution is like, we don't care if you did it or not. We got you on video. We got these, pictures. We got 4 or 5 credible witnesses lined up to say you did it. Unless you can prove you didn't, you're going away. We going away. What's hiding? You talk about good people down the Marco right here. I see you, fam. I know who you are now. Should have used your last name and I'd have known the first time, man. I see you, bro. What's good? What's good? Congratulations on order. Congratulations to you. Like I said, man, with your brother, I got my concerns, but I'm glad you're out there because you're going to be able to do a lot of good. We need men like you out there, bro. So congratulations to you. But yeah, man, I'm having gone through the process and see how this stuff works. People need to understand. Like if you get yourself in some trouble, you got to get a good lawyer, the best lawyer you can afford. Now, I know right now times are tough. A lot of people don't have money for nothing. They can't pay for their car. They can't pay for insurance. They can't pay, having trouble covering their rent or covering their mortgages. Like foreclosures are up. There's a lot of problems out there. But if you find yourself in a position where your freedom is being threatened, you got to go find that money and get you a good lawyer. And if you just can't and you wind up with a public defender, remember, you become that public defender's everything. You become their assistant. You become their co-counsel. You become their legal secretary. You become their paralegal, especially if you're out on bond. You're going to go and get all the research you can on your case and bring it to them. Make sure they see things. You're going to be pulling case law. You're going to be doing everything because it's your freedom on the line. You know what I mean? Proud of you, brother. I'm so proud of you, man. Another shout out to you, man. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm happy for you. I actually got some of my brothers reached out to me, man. It's somebody who's getting out soon and trying to find them some stable place to stay so they can get on their feet properly, man. So I'm working on that. Just got off the phone with some folks. I'm gonna do my best to see if I can help. It's crazy out here, man. It's crazy out here, but we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta help when we can. But yeah, man, the plea deal has to be a thing in America. Otherwise, people would just be waiting and waiting and waiting just to get their day in court. And if you're not out on bond, could you imagine sitting around you doing 5 years locked up and you didn't even get your day in court yet? You haven't even been convicted. And you finally get your day in court and then, okay, they let you go, you win. Well, what about that time you served? I know people who are doing time right now for crimes. They are accused of committing crimes that don't even exist. Can you imagine that for a moment? Yes, sir. You're under arrest for breathing air. What? Yeah. You were over here breathing restricted air. That's a class 1 felony. Restricted air. What are you talking about? As they put the handcuffs on, click, 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 take you down, get you in process. Next thing you know, you in the system. Is there a bond? Not for this crime. We can't find a crime on the book, so we ain't got no bond for you because we don't know how to. Well, they say I was breathing restricted air, and the people in the jails be like, "What is that? What? We don't see. We don't know what that is." So there's no bond. So you're just gonna have to sit here until we sort it out. Can you imagine that? And the whole time the state is gonna be offering you a deal. Hey man, we'll let you go right now. You just gotta promise not to sue us for false arrest, right? You gotta promise not to sue us for violating your 4th Amendment rights and a whole bunch of other rights. If you go ahead and sign this documentation and take this plea, we'll just go ahead and let you go. But you can't come back on us. Like, yo, but I didn't even break the law. That's not even, y'all got me in here for a crime that doesn't even exist. It happens. It happens, guys. It absolutely happens. And if you don't have the money to pay a competent attorney, it's going to be really hard to get out. I've seen guys that go through the appeals process and the appellate court's like, yeah, that's not a thing. Get him out of there. That's not a thing. Nope, they throw you right back in again. Appellate court says let him go. The lower court, the judge that put you in there the first time, that same judge puts you right back in under the same charge, which the appellate court just said doesn't exist. And you go through the whole thing again. What the hell? Yeah, this happens in our system. Our system isn't perfect. Our system is probably better than most countries on the planet, but it ain't perfect. Right? Just think about it, man. Think about what Epstein did to those little girls. And down in Palm Beach County, they virtually gave him a get out of jail free pass. Okay, you're going to have to sit in here for a little bit, but you can come and go as you please. Go do whatever you want. They come back to jail. So he's out there allegedly committing crimes while he's under the police authority. Like he's an inmate going outside, committing crimes and coming right back. Horrific. And the feds couldn't touch him. It shows you how powerful states can be when they want to. The state of Florida told the federal government to kick rocks. Y'all can't touch him. We gave him this deal. Right? A non-prosecution agreement. Not only can you not touch him, but you can't touch anybody who was doing this thing with him. Any of the co-conspirators, you can't touch him. Everybody got immunity. That was the deal? Wow. That and the people, the women who survived that, they were kids at the time, they're grown women now, they're still fighting to get justice. Right? And people still, right now, it's one of the biggest things, man. We want to see the Epstein files. Can't see the Epstein files. Why not? Well, we're fighting a war in the Middle East. What does that got to do with the files? We can do two things at once, can't we? Nope, so can't do it. Can't do it. And a lot of people who were at the state level in Florida moved on up to the federal level. You know what I mean? When the administration changed. So crazy work. And then you got that guy, Brian Banks. Poor dude came up the way probably most people came up. Worked hard. He's a football star, man, doing everything he's supposed to do, getting the grades, playing football, working hard on the practice field, studying, doing everything he's supposed to do. Bam, some woman comes up and said he did this horrific thing to me. They lock him up. And he's looking at his situation. He's like, oh my God, I can't even protect myself. If I take this thing all the way to the end and I lose, I'm never coming out. I'm just a kid, man. If I do get out, man, I'll be an old man. So he takes the plea deal. And then later on, years down the road, after he did his time, which by the way is bad time with that kind of paperwork, especially in California, you ain't here for what? You know what I mean? You really got to talk to people like, yo, I had to plead no contest. This is the deal, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully they believe you. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. You know, it's California politics in jail, man. It's crazy. That's really bad paperwork to have you in there for hurting, a woman. But he does his time. God knows what he saw, what he heard. You know what I mean? What he had to deal with. He did his time. come out on probation. When you come out on probation, you do anything wrong, you go right back in. Right back in, no questions asked. So he's out on probation trying to figure that out. Like, man, what's going on, man? Trying to figure it all out. Yeah. I just don't. That's the deal he got. And then the person who accused him said, oh, I made it all up. And to my knowledge, allegedly, she didn't have to face any justice. Maybe there was a civil case involved, but I mean, if she doesn't have money, what are you going to get from her? Like I said, it ain't a perfect system. It is not a perfect system. We got Glenn Lawrence in the building. What's good, fam? What's good? Glenn just got back from Dallas. I think he might still be out there. He was out there doing the was it debate con? I think that's what it was. Him and Grid was out there making it happen, man. It looked like it was successful, man. I can't wait to talk to you about it. It is what it is. We got old Joe in the building. What's happening, fam? Good to see you. Talking about the American justice system. We're talking about plea deals. I know I'm kind of stretching it right here because we're coming up on the final phase of this particular live. It's just crazy how it works. Right. And then whenever you get locked up, if you're wearing orange or you're wearing stripes or you're wearing tan or you're wearing blue or whatever it is you're wearing, people just automatically assume you must be guilty. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in there. You must be guilty. Otherwise, you wouldn't have taken a plea. And people just don't understand how it works. They don't have the opportunity to sit down and think about it. Right. They don't have the opportunity to think about it. So I think it's crazy. I'm going to drop the link because Glenn, he's still in Dallas. He wants to talk. So what I'm going to do is let me go over the closing. And then when I bring Glenn up, who knows where this conversation is going to go, but it's going to stay crime related. Trust me when I tell you, this is Crime and Punishment Tuesday. We're going to keep it there. And you know what? I'll do the final closing once Glenn and I are done talking. So let me find that link. Let me drop the link. And this link is for Glenn. I'm gonna bring Glenn up. I can't do a proper panel because I got some stuff to do. School's about to get started again. My daughter is in band, so band camp began. And I was at the VA today. I was taking pain management classes. The VA does a really good job of trying to help out veterans these days. It's not the same VA from the 70s and 80s, in the early 90s. They really offer some cool classes, and I mean, I'm in constant pain, guys. They offer these pain management classes, and they teach you how to, deal with your pain. Like, a lot of people just want pills. I don't want pills. So I take these courses, and I'm like, I didn't know they offered these things. So a lot of times when you're doing anger management, what they find is the guys who are suffering the most with their PTSD and anger is because they're in a lot of pain, right? And like the pain makes your temper short and all that. So they refer you to these professionals who can help you with with ways to do the pain management. So, all right, Glenn, I'm about to remove the link. I'm just waiting for him to hit that link. As soon as he hits the link, I'm going to remove it. And then we will be doing some panel shows in the future. But like I said, we're doing some changes over here. We're going to be talking about crime and punishment, the justice system, and all this stuff that we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about relationships and all that other stuff. That's going to be the focal point. And then every now and then, like maybe on the weekends, if a story breaks or something crazy is going on, we'll do a pop-up live on like a Saturday or Sunday to cover that. But you can expect lives on Thursdays moving forward. This will probably be the last time I do a live on a Tuesday. I'm going to begin to just pre-record the crime and punishment Tuesday segments and just kind of put those out, the videos out. And then Thursday we'll do lives. And then on Friday, on Saturday or Sunday, we might do a live, maybe on a Friday. But like if breaking news happens on Saturday or Sunday, we'll do a live. So it may, like maybe on Fridays, we might do something. We'll see. So it'll either be live on Thursday and Saturday or just one live for the week. So just waiting for Glenn to pop up. I don't know what he's doing. Like he asked for the link and I dropped it and he hasn't jumped in yet. So we give him a couple more minutes. Um so yeah. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, we're trying to really make this we're trying to take this platform to the next step up, the next level. Don't worry, guys. I still want to talk about all the other things. It just I talk about so many things the algorithm doesn't know who to show the videos to, and that's really hurting the views. So I have to just okay, I'm gonna talk about these two things. This is all I'm gonna do. This is the 60 to 90-day plan. We're just gonna do this and we're gonna look at the numbers, we're gonna look at the algorithm, see what's going on. But again, for members, for anyone who wants to support, if you join our members community on YouTube, all those other videos I do when I talk about everything else is going to be there. You get emojis, you get special videos, like you can suggest videos to me and I'll make them for you. We're probably, depending on like how many members we get, I'll probably do special shows when I just bring them up, just members only stuff. And again, I'll behind the scenes when I'm doing comedy. So it's funny that Glenn popped in here. Glenn and I are going to be working on some comedy stuff, some stand-up stuff. We got plans in the mix. He's out here in Central Florida. So I'm going to kind of take him under my comedic wing, so to speak, kind of coach him up. And our whole goal is to get him on stage doing stand-up, which I think is going to be a really good segment. So you guys are going to get the behind the scene footage of that. You guys are going to get, just only for members. I won't post that anywhere else. And it's going to be kind of cool. It's going to be real cool. So, all right, Glenn, I put the link in there, man. I ain't heard from you. So I am going to give you a couple more minutes and then I'm gonna do the final thoughts and close this out. You out there in Texas, man, put the barbecue down, wipe your hands off, hit the link because you asked for the link and I posted it for you. But I just really want to talk to you guys about the justice system because if you find yourself caught up in it, you have to know what you're dealing with, what you're up against. You're just a number. It's nothing personal. No one there is, most of the folks in there, they out to get you. They ain't nothing personal. I mean, they're just doing their job. This is how the system works. And you have to be up to speed. And you find yourself, when you get in there, if you've never thought about it, you find yourself playing catch up. Now, for someone like me, I just growing up where I grew up, I knew a lot of people who have gone through the system. So a lot of this stuff wasn't foreign to me. I understood the concepts. I just never been in there. I never had to deal with it personally. And then when it hit me, I'm like, okay, I'm writing a book about the experience. Like you get in there and it's like, you just don't even know where you are. When I went the second time, when I got picked up for failure to appear and I'm thrown into the system, bro, at one point I lost track of time. I didn't know what day it was. You're sitting around like there's stuff going on. You just sitting there. And I mean, I was in intake for 17 hours. I had no idea what day it was. I lost track once they actually got me to Falkenberg and they put me in the medical bay. Like I'm in like the clinic, bro. I had no idea what was going on. It was just you wake up and see different faces. Right? What you look up, they have like skylights in the dorms there. So you can look outside or you can look up at the sky. So I'm like, it's cloudy or like if it's dark, you're like, okay, is it early morning or is it evening or is it night? Like, is it getting lighter or is it getting darker? You sitting there like, oh, it's getting darker. So it must be midnight or something. No clocks around. You don't really necessarily I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to talk to the deputies. I didn't want to ask any questions. Like, part of me, what time is it? Like, why do you care? I didn't want to, it's like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to, I was just like, okay. Man, you lose track of time. And luckily I knew like, okay, I'm talking to folks and the folks inside are like, okay, the inmates, what did you do? Like I did this like felony or misdemeanor. Why are you even here? Well, I missed a hearing. Like, oh yeah, that's bad. So then you're trying to figure out like, well, how long can they keep me on failure to appear? That was a big thing. I didn't know. How long can they keep me in here? Do I get a chance to get bond? Like what's going on? I didn't know. And I found out eventually it was like, yeah, they can pretty much keep you here indefinitely until you get before that judge. That judge decides if you can get bond or whatever. Like, what? And you have some people saying, oh no, they can only hold you so many days. Like, I think it's only 29 days, and then they have to let you go if the court hasn't taken action. That was wrong. You get a lot of bad information. You got a lot of misinformation, not because they're trying to set you up, it's because they just don't know. They're doing their best to ask you questions, but they don't know the system like that. You don't really have access to lawyers who have a lot of experience. The public defenders, man, they're in there checking their boxes. They're in there because they're getting paid, putting in some time so they can go work for a real firm or work on their own. They're not even really trying, and then you ain't gonna see a prosecutor till you go to court. So, I mean, and then once you got your tablet, they give you a tablet, like, okay, this is cool, but how does this work? You got law libraries right there. You got all the resources in the world, but the law library is not user friendly. And even if you find something that can help your case, you don't know how to get before the judge so you can, plead. So you got to talk to your lawyer or your public defenders, like, hey, I found this, right? Can this help me? And I'm like, oh, that's okay. I never heard of this case. What do you mean you never heard of this case? Y'all don't talk about this in law school? What's going on? So, I mean, and then you ask your attorney, like, well, how long I'm gonna be here? Like, will I get bond? I mean, what's going on here? What are my options? And they'll say, I don't really know. I'll go talk to one of my senior partners or whatever, one of the senior lawyers. I'll see if I can get you an answer. Like, you don't know? Crazy work. All right, Glenn, that's it, man. I'm removing it. I'm removing the link. Crazy work. Crazy work. So you want to be aware of this kind of stuff, man. Like, if you can come to a platform like this when we talk about it, or go to some, there's some platforms out there with former prosecutors, with defense attorneys, with former judges. I kind of go to those platforms and kind of listen to what they're talking about, send in comments, ask some good questions, maybe send in maybe a $5 super chat. If you got a really good question, ask them, and then ask them, okay, where's that information come from? Like, they can tell you what to look for, like how to look up that case law. I mean, it's the more you know, the better it is for you, if on the off chance you get yourself in trouble with the law, right? So, final thoughts. I'm gonna wrap this up. Final thoughts. The next time someone says, why didn't they just fight the case? Remember this. A trial isn't just about telling your side of the story. It's a gamble. Sometimes the plea deal is justice. Sometimes it feels like justice was negotiated away, right? So, got some stats for you guys. I got 5 stats that just might surprise you, and then we're going to wrap this up. About 98% of federal criminal convictions are obtained through guilty pleas, not jury verdicts. 98% of criminal convictions are plea deals in America. Wow, 98%. Roughly 95% of state felony convictions also result from guilty pleas. So at the fed level and at the state level, right? At the state level, 95% of those cases are resolved through a plea. 98% at the fed level. It's people not going to trial, which is crazy. Only about 2, maybe 3% of criminal cases ever reach a trial jury. Think about that, man. I've been watching all these law TV shows, bro. It seems like they in court all the time, but that's only 2 to 3% of all criminal cases wound up going the distance. Studies estimate around 18% of people later exonerated had entered guilty pleas, like that Brian Banks guy. Think about that, man. 18% of people who were later cleared of the charges that they pled guilty to, or no contest, whatever the case may be, were exonerated. Right? And that just shows that innocent defendants sometimes plead guilty to avoid harsher outcomes. And again, do you think those are poor people, middle class people, or rich people? Like, the more money you have, the better chances you have of negotiating a really good deal. The U.S. Supreme Court has recognized that plea bargaining is not an exception to the criminal justice system. It's central to it. The court has noted that ours is largely a system of pleas, not a system of trials. This is coming from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court knows, like, man, case loads are so high. We know that without pleading, we wouldn't be able to sort through all that. We wouldn't be able to sort through it. We gotta have plea bargaining. We don't have plea bargaining. So let me ask you. You're innocent. The prosecutor offers you 2 years today, or you can risk 20 years at trial. What do you do? What do you do? Do you stand on principle, or do you take that deal? Right? I'm gonna ask you one more time, guys. And think about this. Well, after we sign out, think about this. The prosecutor offers you a 2-year deal, and you know you're innocent. We're talking about you personally, whoever you are. We know you're innocent. You're facing 20 years for a crime you didn't commit. Prosecutor offers you 2 years today. Right now, I give you 2 years, man. You ain't worry about it. You're going to do less than 24 months. Or we take this to trial, and if you lose, you're getting 20 years. Do you stand on principle, or do you take the deal? Right? Real talk. Think about that, and then come back to this video on Team Replay and leave your answer in the comments below. I'm DL Saint. I really want to know. Hey, man, see y'all soon. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.
Thanks for watching. Really appreciate your support. And if you like that video, check out this one, or maybe that one. We'll see you around. Peace.